Hello folks, this is Sullla once again. You're listening to another video for League of Legends. In this one we're going to be taking a look at the newest champion as this is released. We're going to be taking a look at Quinn. So Quinn is played by Miguel Scott James in this game. Also on his team are going to be Idaho playing and jungling as Wukong, Lasercam playing as Akali, Ninov or Nenov, I'm not sure which one is correct, playing as support Soraka, and I think this is supposed to be Psychopath playing as Cho'Gath in top lane. I'll go ahead and set this up down at the bottom bar. Then on the left side of the screen, you can see who is going to be on the other team. I'm going to be playing on the other team in this game. I'm going to be playing as a top lane Nasus in this game. With me is Jfluent playing as Caitlyn. Mark Owens, with the 4 in place of the letter A, of course. Mark Owens playing and jungling as Lee Sin. Kahal Fall playing as Blitzcrank. I hope that's right. And then finally Necromancer playing as Morgana in the middle lane. So those are that's the setup for the game, and we're going to use this as an example of an early Quinn game. This is not the ideal way to play Quinn. I will say this right away at the start. There are some things in this game that I think are good, some things that I think are not as ideal as they could be, and I'll try to go through and point them out as we go through. But I don't have a lot of Quinn gameplay to look at just yet, and this was a game in which Quinn did reasonably well, and we can try to look at this from Quinn's perspective. So anyway, here is the Quinn character model. Go ahead and zoom in on it right there. Anyway, as far as Quinn goes, she seems to be a little bit underpowered overall, at least in her release state. People are not sort of jumping all over the place trying to play Quinn. She's not one of those champions. Not one of those champions who came out and was immediately just super strong and everybody was just saying like, oh my god, we have to play Quinn. Not like that. Seems to be average to slightly below average as far as ranged AD carries go. And we'll see sort of where she goes from there, but her kit is a little bit strange, particularly in terms of how her ultimate works for a champion that's supposed to be an AD carry. Strengths of Quinn: she has very high mobility. She has excellent mobility for an AD carry. Moves around the map very quickly. That's probably her biggest strength. She also does have a blind on her Q, which I'll talk about in a minute, which can be useful for dueling. Weaknesses though, she's short range. She actually only is 525 range. I believe I read that on her auto attacks. Yep, there it is, 525 range. That's actually quite low. Most AD carries have longer range than that, so that's a bit low, particularly in this lane against Caitlyn. Kate, who has only just reconnected to the game and is going to get to lane a little bit late, but is going to be here for the game. Definitely has a serious range disadvantage against a champion like Caitlyn. So short range, and her ultimate is a little bit weird as far as how it works, because her ultimate turns her into a melee form. A melee form with great mobility, but the problem for that is ranged AD carries typically do not want to be in melee range in a team fight. They typically want to maintain their distance. So it's a little bit of an odd fit as far as that goes. Alrighty, let's go ahead and we'll run through Quinn's skills. We'll take a look at what she does as a champion because she's brand new, and then we'll go ahead and go from there. One thing I will note though is note how late Caitlyn gets to lane. She is about 90 seconds late in getting to lane, and that's going to put her behind the 8 ball. Quinn already has 10 minion kills before Kate even gets there, and that would in fact be pretty eventful as far as how this lane plays out. Okay, passive. We'll start with that. Passive is Harrier. Valor. Valor is the name of the bird that accompanies Quinn. I think it's supposed to be a hawk, but Valor periodically marks enemies as vulnerable for 4.5 seconds. First basic attack against vulnerable targets deals bonus physical damage. So basically, every couple of seconds, the bird will pick out a target, pick out a champion. It doesn't pick out minions. Well, actually, no, it does pick out minions. Okay, I assumed it was only champions. But so the bird randomly picks out a target, and if you attack that target, it deals bonus physical damage. So kind of neat if it goes onto the target you want. The problem is you can't control the passive, at least not without using another skill. I'll get to that in a second. So it's a little funny, but basically the bird picks out a target and you deal bonus damage against that. You have to be careful. You shouldn't just like ignore everything to go all in against the target that the bird marks. Like right now the bird's marking Caitlyn, but you know you don't want to put yourself in a bad position just to get that bonus damage. So definitely make use of the passive, but don't put yourself in a stupid position just to hit whatever the bird is going after. By the way, I also find the bird little sound effect to be very irritating when the bird flies in, when Valor jumps in and you hear a little hawk sound effect or whatever. Anyway, Lee Sin trying to gank in this lane, but it's a good ward from the Soraka player from Nenov. and that's going to make this gank not successful. Lee Sin's just going to be wasting his time down there in bottom lane. Alright, other skills. Q, Blinding Assault. Valor flies in a straight line, strikes the first enemy in his path, deals damage to nearby enemies, and blinds them for 1.5 seconds. So that's what the Q does. It's a straight line shot, like right there, see? Straight line shot, deals physical damage, and, well, we'll get to that in a minute. We have a team fight here. So anyway, exhaust come out on both sides. Look at Caitlyn getting really low, but look, these Soraka auto attacks, and oh, the banana from Nenov picks off first blood right there. So we had a Blitzcrank pull leading into the fight, and Soraka auto attack, auto attack, auto attack. The third banana picks off the kill. Always, I think that is maybe the most humiliating way to die in this game, is to die to the Soraka auto attack, as that banana slowly flies towards the target. But anyway, so that's first blood to Soraka in this lane. And you really should not be giving up first blood to Soraka in a Soraka lane. But anyway, back to the skills here. Again, this is a straight line, straight shot, skill shot. It's not point and click, it is a skill shot. So flies in a straight line, deals damage, both to the enemy hit and then all nearby enemies. When it hits something, it deals damage in a little circle around what it hits, and then it blinds the targets in the area for 1.5 seconds. I wish I could show the range on here, but spectator mode doesn't really do that, I don't think. No, spectator mode doesn't do that, so just have to take my word for it. The range is not that great. It's okay, not ridiculous. The damage is pretty solid. The mana cost is low, is one of the strengths. It's only 55 mana. That's pretty low. You can spam this pretty good in lane without worry about running out of mana. The downside is it's a skill shot, and it's a straight line skill shot. It's pretty easy to dodge, is sort of the down effect. It is pretty easy to dodge this, but the damage is solid. It's not great, but it's decent damage, and the blind effect is very nice. So in any kind of 1v1 duel, if you can hit this on the AD carry, they won't be able to auto attack for 1.5 seconds. That's generally about 2 auto attacks early in the game, and that adds up to a lot of damage. So if you can hit this, that's a pretty big deal. Anyway, Miguel's going to get grabbed there once again, gets knocked up in the air by Blitzcrank, does have flash up, does not need to use it right here, is going to be okay. And then the advantage of having a Soraka lane is Soraka can sustain that back up over time. So anyway, that's how her Q works. My understanding is I think that you should max this skill first. I have looked around at this. It deals the most damage. It's pretty reasonable in terms of mana cost. And it also has the best AD scaling. It's a 0.6 bonus AD ratio, not total AD, but 0.6 bonus AD scaling on this particular skill. So I would suggest maxing this first, personally. Anyway, there is a fight going on here in top lane. It was a 2v2 fight. We were able to pick off a kill on Wukong, the jungler, when he came to gank, and then I have popped Ghost as Nasus, and I'm going to go ahead and chase this down, and a Siphoning Strike will pick that up. So I'm actually going to start 101, and I'm pretty far ahead up here in top lane, but we'll get back to that later. We're trying to focus on Quinn in this particular video. Alright, so I'm suggesting you max your Q first. Even though the damage is not guaranteed, it does deal the most damage overall. It has the best AD scaling, it's a low mana cost, and it blinds the target. You do not get increased blind duration, though, from maxing this skill first. Alright, other skills, I'll go ahead and highlight the W, Heightened Senses. This is a skill that has no mana cost. The passive is you get bonus attack speed for attacking a vulnerable target, and this does go up with more points in the skill. So you do have a passive effect. Anytime you hit a target that's marked as vulnerable, you get bonus attack speed. Then the active is it reveals a large nearby area for 2 seconds. Will reveal any champions in the area. Will not reveal stealth units, though. So it will reveal enemies that are in the area over a pretty good range, too. I don't know if I don't think it shows the range on this skill in spectator mode, unfortunately. But it will reveal enemy units nearby. Use it to check the brush. There it is. Hopefully you just saw that. It was, looks like it's about 1500 range is sort of my rough guess, just by eyeballing that. So pretty good range. Basically similar to Ash's Hawkshot is the best comparison I can make. Is on a very long cooldown. Starts at 50 seconds. Goes down with more points in the skill. Anyway, we do have a fight going on right here. In comes Jungle Wukong. Soraka's very low. Blitzcrank maybe should have turned and just killed Soraka. But instead, going to escape, we actually saw a use of the ultimate right there out of Quinn, but didn't really do anything, so we'll get back to that later. Haven't had a chance to explain the Valor form just yet. So anyway, W, not the most useful skill. I would suggest 1 point in this at level 4, max it last. There's really no reason to put more points in this skill. Decreasing the cooldown, not a big deal. You don't get much extra attack speed from the vulnerable target. It starts at 20, then it goes 25, 30, 35, 40, I believe. I know it starts at 20, and I think it gets 5% more per point in this skill. So this is your 1 point skill, basically. Miguel Scott James has actually made a mistake by putting 2 points in this. I do not suggest that at all. Alright, over here, let's see, Wukong trying to catch out Lee Sin. I think Lee's going to be fine, though. Looks like he's going to escape from that. So, getting back to Quinn, let's try and wrap up more of her abilities. Her E, her skill is called Vault. She dashes to the enemy, deals physical damage, slows the movement speed by 50%, and on reaching the target, Valor will mark the enemy as vulnerable. So this is your initiation and also your escape tool. You can dash to an enemy. This is the one way that you can put the vulnerable, this is the way to get your passive on a target. This is the way to get your vulnerable passive. So you can dash to an enemy with this, that will mark them as vulnerable. Then you can get the extra attack speed from your W, and it'll deal, you'll deal more damage as you consume that vulnerable mark. So this is the only way you have to mark a target as vulnerable, is to use this E, use this Volt skill. Once again, low mana. I mean, not expensive in terms of mana cost. So again, that's an advantage of Quinn. Her mana costs are very low. The downside to this skill is it's very similar to a lot of other dashes that champions have. It's similar to like Graves' dash on his quick draw. It's kind of like Caitlyn's net skill, but it's not as good as most of those other skills, largely because you have to cast this on an enemy. Must be cast on an enemy. So that makes it less useful than, say, a Graves' quick draw, because you don't need an enemy target, or a Caitlyn net, which again also doesn't need an enemy target. So while it's nice that this is the way to trigger your passive, the fact that you can only cast it on an enemy unit is kind of a big drawback to this skill. So granted, this gives Quinn good mobility, does give her that, and you can use this to disengage from a bad fight. There is the reveal once again on the W. It doesn't seem to be quite as useful as some other AD skills that are very similar, but are not as useful overall. So you have to be careful with this. Have to be a little bit careful when using it because you're limited in what you can target it on. Then the ultimate is called Tag Team. I think that's a little bit of a silly name. I would have assumed it would just be called Valor, which is the name of the bird. But anyway, Tag Team, when you cast it, the ultimate, it turns Quinn into Hawk form. Valor replaces Quinn. Basically, Valor is melee. He gets a huge movement speed boost, though. He gets 80% movement speed when out of combat. That does go down in combat, only 20% in combat. But Valor moves really fast. And he is, as I said, he's melee ranged, and he has different skills when you're in bird form. So as Valor, Blinding Assault is exactly the same thing, only it's not a skill shot that goes in a line. It's just a skill, it just deals damage around you. Blinds targets around you and deal damage. The active in, Valor, you get double the passive attack speed for hitting a marked target. So nice, but not spectacular. And as Valor, basically Vault does the same thing, but doesn't mark or leap off the target. So not all that different overall. The ult seems a little bit lackluster, I have to say. This doesn't seem all that useful. The big thing is just the movement speed boost. You move really fast. Other than that, it doesn't seem to be that great. Right there, though, a nice use of W revealed Lee Sin in the rush. So that is one of the strengths of Quinn. The fact that she basically gets free clairvoyance every 40 to 50 seconds. But the ult, not too impressed by it. Most other people don't seem to be too impressed either. You can cast it a second time. And when you do that, you return back to physical form. Deals physical damage to enemies in the area. Right here, gank is being baited in. Exhaust comes out on the Blitzcrank. There comes Wukong in. Nicely played by Idaho, by the way. Flash has come out, but Blitz, having been exhausted, probably should not get out. There is the extra movement speed while chasing, and there is the Sky Strike at the back end of that ultimate. One thing I would suggest to Riot is, before you change the skill, drop the cooldown. 140 seconds is a very long time, and this is not really that great of an ult. So maybe drop it down to like 120 and see how it goes. See how it goes from there. Once again, right there, Mark owns getting revealed once more by the W. What's it called? Heightened Senses. Great name for a skill. Heightened Senses. But getting revealed right there. So that is one of the strengths of Quinn. So again, there's the flip using the dash in with Vault. Dash in, and here comes Mark to try to steal. I'm not sure this was the best idea. He does, in fact, get the dragon, and is he going to be able to get out? Yes, actually. I don't typically like those plays, but that was beautifully done. Enemy team should have, their team, the red team, should have stopped DPSing dragon and just turned and killed Lee Sin. If they had done that, then they probably could have killed him, and he would not have been able to get out. That's one reason why I don't typically like those plays. But anyway, that's Quinn's kit in a nutshell there. Again, as far as skilling order, I would suggest maxing Q first. I think this is the skill that makes the most sense to do. The one trade-off is, as I said, this is a skill shot. It can be difficult to land this, particularly in lane, because it is a straight line. It can be a little tricky to pull this off. I have heard... Wow, how did Necromancer miss that binding? It looked like it went right through laser cam. Anyway, I have seen in one particular guide the recommendation of maxing E first, of maxing the Vault first, because this actually is point-and-click damage. And unlike the Q, unlike the Blinding Assault, her E, the Vault, is point-and-click damage. So if you're having trouble landing the skill shot, maybe maxing E first is a better idea. That said, Q does deal the most damage, and Q has the best AD scaling. Q has 0.6 AD scaling, bonus AD, by the way, not total AD, bonus AD. 0.6 AD scaling, Vault has 0.2 AD scaling. So once again, 57 damage against 17 is the difference right there. So again, I think the Q makes more sense. You can use it for wave clearing. The cooldown drops with more points in the skill, so you can blind more often. I think maxing Q first makes more sense, but W is 100% the 1-point skill. Definitely the 1-point skill there. But anyway, some combination of E and Q. You don't want to be maxing W. This is not the best way to max this out. Anyway, once again, we have a gank coming in. Bottom lane, Wukong coming in. There goes out the straight line shot on that Q. Is it going to be enough damage to get Caitlyn? Doesn't look like it right here. Looks like J-Fluent is going to be able to escape from this one. Bird form was up, but Miguel looks like he did not choose to use it right there. Alright, so in terms of building Quinn, this game might not be the best indicator because this game was played under the... Well, we'll get to this in a second. Here comes the dive, incoming on Blitz. He really should have just left this tower, not tried to defend it, and Idaho's going to pick up that kill. Yeah, you don't want to stay at a tower that's at half health 1v3. That's kind of an invitation to just be dived by the other team, so that was not the best idea right there. Alright, and the tower goes down anyway, right? So it would have been better just to give that one up, in all honesty. Okay. Yeah, and maxing W second is definitely a mistake. You should be maxing E either second or first or second. Okay, in terms of skilling, or excuse me, in terms of item build, this was done before the Blade of the Ruined King hotfix, so everyone and their mother was building Blade of the Ruined King in this patch. My understanding is the item that probably the best AD item to build on her is to go Bloodthirster first. Again, she's short range. You need to be able to duel. That's why people typically get Bloodthirster. It's a better dueling item than Infinity Edge because of the lifesteal. So short range would tend to dictate Bloodthirster, and the AD scaling is pretty good on Blinding Assault. Again, I said it's plus 0.6 bonus AD. So I would think Bloodthirster has to be her first item. Maybe Blade of the Ruined King. Blade of the Ruined King now, post-nerf, would probably not be bad, but Bloodthirster first does seem like probably the way to go. Alright, while that's going on, let's take a quick look at other lanes. In top lane, there hasn't been too much action in top lane. Basically, Nasus and Cho are both have too tanky and have too much sustain for either one to kill one another. I have been rushing as much CDR, cooldown reduction, as possible. I am capped at 40%, and just farming up Siphon Strike, which is already at plus 336 damage. Early in the game. Meanwhile, Psychopath has been stacking armor. He's at 173 armor right now, so neither one of us basically can hurt the other one. In middle lane right now, again, pretty passive lane, to be honest. Neither side has gotten a kill thus far, which is probably good for Morgana, all things considered. Akali's a little bit ahead, but Akali wants to be getting kills. If she's not getting kills, that's typically a good thing for Morgana. A little bit odd here in terms of the Morgana build. Not as many people going the Crystalline Flask anymore. Crystalline Flask, Doran's Ring, Needlessly Large Rod. That makes sense, but it's a little bit odd. And Akali seems to be going for a Gunblade right there. In terms of junglers, Lee Sin appears to be ahead right now. He is 101, 70 minion kills. Against Wukong, 2-1, 52 minion kills. But both of them have been reasonably effective thus far in terms of picking up kills for their teams. Right here, Mark Owen's in a little bit of trouble. Oh, needed to dodge that Rupture right there. Is he going to be able to make it out right there? That's a nice Dark Binding by Morgana, a nice Morgana ultimate, but Lasercam is going to pick off that kill with his Ignite. Meanwhile, now, I'm going to come down from top lane, and Cho is standing next to a minion, so he is revealed in the rush, going to go in right here. Spirit Fire for the armor debuff, a nice Dark Binding hitting on the part of Necromancer, and then Siphon Strike will pick that off. So that will be, what is that, a 1-for-1 exchange overall. Probably slightly in favor of our team, just because Cho will now have to rebuild his feast stacks, and you never really want Nasus picking up a lot of gold into the rest of the game. But you know, Akali got a kill too, so Akali as an assassin is also quite good with kills on her. Meanwhile, in bottom lane, they're just farming, pushing to tower. Pretty far ahead right now. Miguel is pretty far ahead in this lane. We'll check out the gold total. Is about 1,000 gold ahead in this bottom lane. Elsewhere, it's close in most lanes, but my Nasus is also ahead by over 1,000 gold in top lane, and that's a pretty good result there. So bottom tower has been pushed over. Now they're going to look to send pressure mid. That is a good call, good decision to do that. Not really anything else to get in that bottom lane, using the bird on Q. What is that skill called again? Wow, how does that pull miss right there? Using it for wave clear right there. Looks like we got a team fight going on right here as well. Exhaust comes out onto Lee Sin. Wukong's also going to get exhausted, goes in. Soraka picks up another kill, and this fight's not going too well. Nasus has now joined the fray as well right now, and the fight is going to continue. Mark Owens is getting very low. Meanwhile, Idaho is now going to be the focus. Nasus ult just came off cooldown. Now, Idaho's going to use the decoy to jump out into bird form. Quinn goes. Meanwhile, one kill is going to go down for Nasus. And there is the Sky Strike at the end. Double kill now coming out for Nasus. I'm going to run out as I get low. Morgana's ult is up. Is she going to be able to pick this off? Oh, use the Zanyas there. Maybe a little bit too early. Not sure that that was the best idea. But hey, Jay Fluent will pick off the kill with the Caitlyn ult. And this game's going to be basically evened up right at 25k on either side. So that was a very good fight in that particular engagement for blue team right there. That fight was kind of an example of why Quinn's ult doesn't feel all that useful in a team fight overall. Went into the bird form, but I almost feel like it would have been better just to stay at range form and just, you know, keep kiting backwards or something like that. So I don't know, maybe, we'll see, but this champ feels awkwardly placed in terms of how that ultimate works overall. A lot of people suggested that they think Quinn might be better as like a top lane bruiser than an AD carry, in the same way that Jace has typically been played as an AD bruiser and not as a strict AD, in bottom lane. So we will see. People are still figuring out Quinn, but like I said, the early verdict is that she is not all that great. Anyway, in the game overall, very even game right now. 6-5 in kills, about a 500 gold lead, about a 500 gold lead for blue team, but very close overall. Meanwhile, Dragon has respawned, and it looks like red team is on top of this much better than blue team is right now. Let's see, teleport is not up for Nasus in top lane, so this looks like it's going to be a 4v4 in the bottom lane between the two teams. Keep an eye on who's going to get this. Again, red team seems to just be in much better position for this Dragon. Wow, Lee Sin's going to flash in, and now he does not have his flash up. And Blitzcrank is going to put himself in a bit of a bad position as well. Right now, the chase is on. Is Akali going to be able to chase this down? Yes, she does. And so that's going to be a Dragon and a kill for the red team. Again, remember what I said about how I don't like it when people try to flash into the Dragon Pit to steal. I feel like it's a risky play where the risk is much out of the risk is much greater than the reward factor. So Mark was able to pull off a really nice Dragon steal the first time Dragon was up, but not so much there. Team kind of got baited into a bad team fight. Led to, we're not able to steal the Dragon, lost a kill, and now are going to lose a tower on the back end of that. So that was not a particularly good play, and the red team is now ahead by about 1.5k gold. So that's a big advantage right there. Now, meanwhile, check this out. Here comes the 5-man gank squad running to top lane. And right here, I do not have a ward in top lane. I am going to try my best to get out of this. But again, all 5 members of the enemy team are racing after Nasus. I have popped Nasus ultimate. Unfortunately, I do not have Ghost up. With Ghost, would have been relatively easy to get out of this. I've also popped Locket. That is the rupture that I needed to dodge. Was not able to dodge that one. And again, five members of the team still trickling in, still coming into this fight. Need to try to get away from this. Going to dodge that rupture. Needed to dodge the previous one. But Feast is going to pick this up. In comes Morgana. Where is the rest of the team in this fight? Enemy team running as 5, dodging past 2 towers. And what's the counterplay from blue team? Not really doing much of anything right here. Instead, team pushing bottom tower, but which is okay. They are going to get bottom tower, but that was not the most effective use of time right there. If the enemy team sends 5 people to top lane and spends that much time up in top, really want to be able to get a little bit more out of it than that. So mid tower did not go down off of that, and bottom tower just got the outer tower. So a big advantage for red team right there. They got a tower in top lane. They got this tower. They also picked off a kill. And yeah, rest of my team didn't really get a whole lot out of that. Probably should have gotten the proper response. Probably should have been mid tower and bottom tower. In that case, that would have been a good exchange, just because their team spent a lot of time in that top lane. But anyway, in any case, now 4-1-2 with Nasus, and the core Nasus build is done at this point. So the core Nasus build, for those who don't know, is generally Locket, Iceborne Gauntlet, and Spirit Visage. This gives Nasus max CDR. It gives him a great deal of tankiness. It allows him to sustain himself with really good lifesteal off of his passive. He gets the healing effect on Spirit Visage, and it gives you, 180 armor and 120 MR. So it makes Nasus really tanky, and allows him to just charge up that Siphon Strike, which is at plus 500 damage right now. So anyway, just for those who don't know. Anyway, let's go back to Quinn, because we haven't really focused on Quinn here. Quinn is apparently building towards Static Shiv. Not 100% sure if that's the best item or not. Not really sure whether she needs that wave clear. But she's going to come down here and look to head for top lane. Here comes the exhaust. Here comes, once again, 1, 2, 3, 4-man gank heading towards top lane. And yeah, so enemy team really coming in. Need to be able to dodge this Rupture. Nope, not able to with the slow from Quinn. That was made it very easy to hit that particular Rupture. I'm going to turn and look to try to kill Quinn at this point in time. But with Soraka heal, it's not going to be enough. And a lot of CC coming in from Cho'Gath as well. Unfortunately, once again, Lee Sin has fallen earlier in this fight, and Morgana going to use the Zanya's there. We'll see if this is enough to escape. No, doesn't look like it. And Cho is now going to use Rupture, going to miss right there. Are they going to be able to pick off Blitzcrank on the back end of this one? Let's see. Quinn does have red buff, just needs to auto attack. In comes Wukong, who also has red buff on the back side. And this is a very sticky wicket for poor Caitlyn and Blitzcrank in here. They probably need to look to either just wave clear this tower or look to back out. Not going to go too well. There is the dash in by Quinn. Going to use the Vault. That's one kill. In comes Wukong on the back side. A nice use of the invisibility, and that's going to pick off 2 kills. Meanwhile, in comes the teleport, so I'm going to try to come in here and try to get this kill. Unfortunately, Nash Assault is not quite off of cooldown, and I'm going to try to get onto Quinn right here, but she's going to use, going to use her cleanse on that Wither right here. Now getting sucked in, trying to chase after Cho'Gath in the backlines there, and just a lot of kiting coming in. Quinn using that mobility is her great strength, is going to use her mobility to kite that, and the net result of that was a bad fight. Not able to get any kills, was not able to pick anyone off, and now Mark is getting picked off as well, and our team really just needs to get out of this fight. That was one case of where Quinn's mobility worked really well. Was able to use the Vault to disengage, and was able to use the blind, able to use the blinding assault to make it so that those Nasus Qs, the Nasus siphoning strikes, couldn't hit. So an attempt to come in and teleport in and pick off a kill at the back end of that fight, but did not go very well. And that was poorly played by me in that situation. So, let's see. Quinn now going to go back to base, has more gold to spend. Let's see. Quinn is sitting on another 1,000 gold. Miguel has, about 1,000 gold to spend right now, and is finally in the process of maxing out the rest of those skills. Not a bad decision to take blue here necessarily, just because Akali is not really going to need it. Wukong doesn't really need it. Probably Quinn or, even Cho or Soraka might be good targets for it. Soraka could use the CDR cooldown reduction, since Soraka hasn't really built that much cooldown reduction on this game thus far. Yeah, only has 9% CDR. Probably might want to itemize a little bit more, just because Soraka is very heavily restricted by cooldown reduction. Alright, so the build, again, thus to this point in time on Quinn, Bloodthirster, Static Shiv. I'm not sure that that's necessarily the best build. Blade of the Ruined King probably would be better as an item on her than Static Shiv, just comparing the two, because Static Shiv gives 40% attack speed. Blade of the Ruined King also still gives 40% attack speed, but the other stats are a lot more useful on Quinn. Attack damage and that effect on that health stacking, anti-health stacking passive. So yeah, I would say that Bloodthirster and then Blade of the Ruined King would be a lot better than Bloodthirster Static Shiv, but that's just me, and I don't play that much AD. Anyway, another dragon fight coming on. Nice pink ward control by the red team right here, and now Lee Sin's going to go in. Anyway, we're going to try to do this dragon fight. I'm going to try to go in after Quinn or somebody else on the team. Akali's going to come in on the back lines though, and really start cleaning up this fight. So Lasercam's going to get 1 kill. That's going to be a 1-for-1. Now, right now in the back lines, actually chased 4 people off of this fight as Nasus, and still trying to chase this down right now. Unfortunately, my focus is not good. The focus should be on going after Quinn. It should not be going after Wukong right now. Wukong has actually built 100% tank, and he is not a good person to focus. Well, we are going to kill him, but our team is not doing well in this fight. Too much focus on Wukong, who, as I said, is basically building straight tank. And that fight just didn't go particularly well. That was a 3-for-2 in the favor of red team in this particular game. But they also took dragon on that too. Their dragon positioning has definitely been a lot better in this particular game. So nicely played by them. In that fight, I was able to zone out, I think, 3 to 4 members of their team, but we weren't able to clean up Akali. She was still able to get a kill onto Caitlyn in that fight. Meanwhile, right now, trying to defend this tower, a pretty good push coming in from the other team. And this is one place where Soraka as a champion really does help. Right there, Miguel gets caught in a binding. He does lose about a half his health from a Nasus Q, trying to chase that down, and that will be enough to pick off that kill. So yes, when Nasus is able to chase someone down, really does make a difference. Cho is going to get out as he flashes away. One thing I was trying to say is Soraka, very weak in lane. I'm not a big fan of Soraka's support. I think that she is one of the weakest supports in the game right now. But one place where Soraka really does shine is if your team is able to get a lead. She's very good in that role because she's great at sustaining pushes. She just constantly keeps healing people with Astral Blessing. She's really good at sustaining pushes with her heal. And she's also good at sustaining pushes with her infused, which gives mana back. And she makes it really hard to dive on any one person because she can use her ult to give a ton of health back, and her W also, of course, her heal gives a huge armor bonus, 105 bonus armor for a couple seconds. So she's very good at stopping people from diving. What that means is it's very difficult in this game for me as Nasus to dive after one particular person because whoever I focused is going to get the Soraka heal, and it's going to be very hard to try and burst down as a champion. So that actually worked well in their favor because their team was ahead and their team was on the offensive a lot in this game. Anyway, so tower's going to go down. That's easy to pick off. And guess what? In comes the 1, 2, 3-man gank squad coming into top lane once again to head after this. Meanwhile, mid, there's a fight going on. Meanwhile, the focus goes on Akali mid, so the team is going to be able to pick up a kill there. Meanwhile, here comes 3 people into top lane. Again, a poor job of dodging that rupture. Really needed to do a better job of that. And the focus is going to continue to be on Nasus, and they are going to get that kill. Probably could have escaped that by dodging that rupture. In the meantime, though, the rest of the team did pick up a kill onto Akali in mid and going to get this tower in mid. So that's a clear win for blue team. Once again, their team just kept sending 3, 4, even 5 people to top lane to keep ganking Nasus. And again, when you do that, you have to get something out of those pushes. Now, for some reason, team stops pushing this tower. Nobody on the other team was there except a low health Wukong. Probably could have gotten the second tower too, but everybody went back to base and I believe didn't really need to do so. Probably could have gotten another tower right there. So if you see the other team, you know, sending 3 or 4 people off to a side lane to gank the top laner, that's really the signal to push mid. And I do think that's something that our team could have done a better job of doing in this game. When they sent, when the red team sent a whole bunch of people to one lane, could have done a little bit of a better job, I think, of focusing objectives while that was going on. Also could have done a better job of controlling Dragon. Red team did a very nice job of Dragon control in this game. Anyway, in this game, Quinn apparently wasn't building Blade of the Ruined King at all, has done a Bloodthirster Static Shiv Last Whisper build. That's okay, but I do think that Blade of the Ruined King would have been a good choice at some point in time in this game, because after all, this game was pre-Blade of the Ruined King nerf, so it was just by far the best AD item on basically anyone, to the point where there were games where people were playing and there were 7 or 8 Blade of the Ruined Kings in those particular games. But this game's still quite close overall. It's about a 2k gold lead for red team, 3-3 in towers. Dragon is down, so attention is going to be on Baron. Has got to be the focus. And one thing I will point out is Nanav, the Soraka player, is doing a really nice job of controlling vision. Check out the vision for red team. They've got quite a few wards. Blue team, well, wards down here, don't get me wrong, but that's not where the wards need to be. They need to be around Baron, and their team just has all that vision control. Right here, oh no, that's a mistake. Walking right into the Cho'Gath Rupture. So Necromancer's going to get picked off immediately, and at this point, just need to leave the fight because team is not going to win this fight at that point after somebody gets bursted down so easily at the very start of that fight. So unfortunately, blue team loses their mid right at the start of the fight, and oh, now Exhaust is already gone, and now Blitzcrank is also going to get blown up, and yeah, so we've got Exhaust down, we've got our AP mid down, and yeah, that was not the best play right there. Unfortunately, just face checking into this brush, but it was set up by Soraka's ward control, so I want to give credit for that. Nice word control, but their team is going to come in and try to force Baron, and now the blue team is forced into a really bad situation of having to try to stall out this Baron. So going to go in, and right here, Wukong is going to get the knock up. I'm going to get knocked up again by Rupture and exhausted by the Soraka player. So yeah, everybody does a good job of focusing Nasus. They're going to pick off that kill. So we do push them off Baron. Do manage to push them off Baron, but at the cost of another death. And at this point, not really much you can do to stop that Baron. So had to try to make that play, but a lot of really good crowd control coming out from red team. The exhaust coming out from Soraka, the Wukong ultimate, I believe, came out there, and the Cho'Gath Rupture for the knock-up. So they're going to take Baron, and then that will put them into pretty firm control of this particular matchup. Going to have to push out the side lanes. but they should be able to do that. Yeah, able to push out the side lanes. And once they're able to clear these lanes, they'll be able to go on the offensive and look to start pushing once again. As far as their team goes, 2 people are just straight tank. Cho'Gath is all tank. Wukong is also all tank. Wukong probably should have built a little bit more damage than this. I guess he does have 174 AD, but he's mostly just built tank in this game. So basically, two tanky champions with crowd control, and then 2 damage dealers, Akali and Quinn, and then Soraka just sustaining the team in the background and tossing out those heals. So that actually worked pretty well for this game. Again, I've mentioned that Soraka's very weak in lane, but in this situation, she's pretty good. And looks like, once again, Lee Sin's going to go in, and yeah, I mean, he's going to go in. He does not get the steal, and is now going to have to jump out of there. Does manage to disengage from this one. Now Blitzcrank's going to pull in Akali, but this is maybe not the best fight to be taking on. Enemy team does have Baron. Enemy team is ahead by 9 kills and 6,000 gold. Not really the best fight to be taking on. I was happy while playing that we were just able to disengage from that particular fight. So anyway, their team does have to go back and push out side lanes and look to proceed from there. But they're in a pretty strong position overall. And keep an eye on Quinn here as she goes ahead and clears this bottom lane. So let's look at some of these skills with the extra AD scaling. So there, the damage from Blinding Assault, pretty good damage, about 370 damage with that scaling. And I believe Quinn's going to go back and buy something, yeah, 2,500 more gold. And the Vault, yeah, see the scaling on Vault isn't all that high, unfortunately. There's the Last Whisper. Anything else coming out? Should be able to buy BF Sword too. Nope, bought Giant's Belt, okay. Bought Giant's Belt instead. Well, that makes sense too. Might as well become tankier, given the fairly large advantage that red team has in gold. Anyway, note that we do have a 6-1-9 Soraka in this game, and I don't even know how that's possible, that Soraka got 6 kills in this game. That just blew my mind while playing this game, that Soraka was, like, destroying everyone on the enemy team. But anyway, so yeah, 6 kill, 9 assist Soraka in this game, building fairly standard support stuff. Their team does have the double Aegis, double Bulwark going on between Cho'Gath and Soraka. On the other team, my team now just looking to try and hold this push as best we can. It's actually a decent binding that hits on Wukong, but not really in a position to follow that up. Lee Sin is... yeah, okay, well, he was dancing over there. Must have been away from computer for a second. Unfortunately, there's a pretty big level advantage on their team as well. Their team, if you look at the numbers, Soraka disconnects, but then comes back shortly thereafter. If you look at the levels 16, 18, 17, 14, 18, against 17, 16, 14, 13, 18, they do have a little bit of an edge, so a couple levels here and there on their team. Generally about 1 level higher across the board. And that does make a difference while playing. So they had to back off because Soraka disconnected, and Soraka's now going to reconnect. So not a huge deal, but they did lose about a minute of Baron timer while that happened. So a bit of dead time in the game. Whenever that's going on, we as casters go ahead and look at what items people are building, because there's not a lot else to talk about. We do have a really tanky build coming out from Lee Sin. He's got the Warmogs and also another Giant's Belt, so he's also building straight tank. Morgana has a pretty solid looking Morgana build there. Abyssal and the Zanya's Hourglass. Looks like going for another Death Cap. And Caitlyn has Infinity Edge, Blade of the Ruined King, typical stuff like that. Blitzcrank, for some reason, is walking into the middle of the team, and this was really a staple of the game throughout. People getting caught over and over again. That's about the 3rd time that happened. So no real chance even to defend this tower. Blitzcrank getting caught. Caitlyn now also walking and getting caught. And yeah, I mean, our team is just never really in a position to fight for this stuff. So that was a situation right there. Well, I would go back. I should have mentioned this before, but I was in top lane. I teleported to this ward, came in behind the enemy team when we started the fight, but communication was not there. Our team was not together. Didn't do a good enough job of communicating that I was coming in. And so I just got blown up by 5 members of their team. And then our team is sort of fighting one at a time here. Like I said, the communication, we just were not on the same page. And unfortunately for my team, their team is just scaling to the point where there's not a whole lot we can do at this particular point in time. So if we could ever get everyone together for a team fight, we might do okay. But unfortunately, we've had a lot of picks in this game, people getting picked off. And that's really limited what we can do. So red team's going to take that tower. Red team is continuing to push. They can, good decision here to back off. They don't want to continue pushing this further. And there's the Shirley's to disengage. So I really haven't seen Quinn used too much in these team fights, unfortunately. It's generally, Quinn I know does have 3 kills. But for the most part, it's just been somebody getting, engaged on and then they just get bursted down, and then the rest of the team pushes, and you know, that happens sometimes. That definitely does happen sometimes in League of Legends, but we really haven't seen too much. We really haven't seen like any crazy Quinn play in the course of this game. Like I said, though, the champion just came out, and I don't have too much Quinn footage, so wanted to go ahead and use this as best I could. At this point, red team just needs to bide their time. They're going to have Baron coming up in about 2 minutes. They can wait and stall for that Baron if they want to. Alternately, they can look to just, you know, group up, push a lane. Bottom is going to be pushing in their favor. They can make a push onto bottom lane. Akali just picked up the Zanya's Hourglass. That will make it extremely difficult to target Akali, because if the focus goes on her, she'll just go into stasis mode. So not a whole lot of options right now for blue team. Blue team needs to just hope that red team makes a mistake and try to go from that. There was a lot of damage on the Siphoning Strike, though, so 600 damage, 627 on the Siphoning Strike. So if, you know, we can ever manage to hold a fight together, Nasus will do a lot of damage, Kate will do a lot of damage, Morgana will do a lot of damage too. Morg's got almost 500 AP, so if we could ever just line everybody up, would have a pretty strong example for a team fight. But problem is, red team's now about 9,000 gold ahead, and it starts to become very difficult to come from behind once you fall behind by that kind of margin in this game. Anyway, their team is grouping up. Looks like they are going to make the push based on these pings. Looks like they are making the push for top lane. That's a pretty good choice. Top tower doesn't have any damage on it, still full health, but again, it's sort of their call. Soraka has good ward coverage again. Blue team is not in the best position to defend against this, still kind of down here in the bottom lane, and looks like they're going to try to set a trap on the route to Baron, but Caitlyn trap's too good and going to cause them to reveal the team's position. Akali, though, is still hanging out here, still trying to see if anyone's going to face check into the brush here. Again, check out the ward coverage. Really good ward coverage for red team. Blue team doesn't see much of anything. And yeah, not particularly good defense right here of this tower. Not particularly good defense of this tower. Anyway, we'll get over here in time, but here comes Akali going to jump in, and Kate is going to once again get bursted down before the fight starts. Again, a recurring theme throughout this game. Exhaust comes out a little bit late after the fight's over, doesn't really do a whole lot. And now with no AD carry, there's just not a whole lot that can be done here. Let's see, Morgana's going to go down before ult goes off. Exhaust goes down onto Nasus once again. There's the Rupture, nicely placed by Cho'Gath, and Blitzcrank is going to go ahead and pull in Wukong, but there's really not much that can be done at this point. Red team is just snowballing over the rest of blue team, and Quinn's actually going to pick up 3 more kills at the tail end of this fight to go up to 6 kills on the game. Just did a nice job of picking off those kills at the tail end after finishing all those items. So this will be a win for red team. They are able to pull this one off and the later stages of the game, and just really snowballed this one off of a couple of mistaken fights. There is the bird form again at the tail end. Again, just didn't really see that bird form really doing much of anything in this game. Perhaps as people get more of a chance to play Quinn, they'll get more experienced with bird form, but didn't really see that much in this game. So anyway, latter half of this game probably not as interesting, kind of a routine snowball off of the mistakes of one team. Really saw that in action in this game, but hopefully the first half of this video does a good job of trying to showcase some of the Quinn gameplay. Again, high mobility, the ability to check the brush for free, and has that blind on her Q, but doesn't seem to be the strongest champion, at least not at the moment. Perhaps that will change with time. Ultimate seems a little oddly placed, and little difficult hitting on her Qs in lane, and her dash skill, her vault, doesn't seem to be as useful as a lot of the other ADs. So anyway, hope that you enjoyed a chance to see a little bit of Quinn gameplay. Hope that you were able to learn a little bit about this new champion. Once again, have a great week. See you guys later. Until next time, take care.